Hello and welcome to the DSR Daily. It's the day before Thanksgiving. I'm David Rothkopf. I'm joined by Riley Fester and Minna Stein. They're undoubtedly both reporting and, I don't know, baking pumpkin pies. Are you preparing anything for the holiday, guys? Are you doing some cooking on your own? I know, Riley, you love to cook.
I'm not cooking this year, but I am cleaning my apartment for my parents because they're staying with me for the next couple of days. So that's what I'm preparing.
Well, that's nice. It's very thoughtful. Are they staying in the guest wing?
They're staying in my bed, and I'm staying on the couch right behind me in my studio apartment. So it'll be
Well,
very fun.
that's not, I mean, it's Thanksgiving. It's time to be close with your family. I mean, men, are you going to go out to, that make the long trek 10 miles out to Virginia to see your family?
I already made the trek. So I'm at my parents' house now.
Oh, you're
And
there
later today,
now?
I'll be making mashed potatoes with horseradish and mustard, butter sauce,
Horseradish?
chives.
Horseradish and the
I get
mashed
really,
potato?
really fancy with it. Yeah,
Wow. I never heard of that.
it's
I
pretty
never.
good.
If I
It's
were left,
very good.
if it were left, if it were left to me, there would be stuffing. Sometimes I put a little like spicy Italian sausage in the stuffing, and not all the rest of it's secondary. I don't need the rest of it. I just like the stuffing. So, of course, what are we doing tomorrow, you may ask? Well, thank you for asking. Chinese restaurant, Peking duck, the traditional Chinese Thanksgiving that we all celebrate each year. Anyway, Riley, is there news more important than what we're eating tomorrow?
There is news. President Trump defended Special Envoy Steve Witkoff following the release of a leaked recording in which Witkoff appeared to coach a Russian official on how to flatter the president to advance negotiations. Trump characterized the interaction as standard behavior, asserting that Witkoff was simply doing what a dealmaker does to sell a potential peace agreement to both sides. The controversy arises amid scrutiny of a U.S. drafted peace plan that initially drew criticism for favoring Russian positions, though the proposal has since been revised to better reflect Ukrainian interests. Despite the leak and revelations that Witkoff has frequently visited Moscow while avoiding Kyiv, the envoy is scheduled to return to the Kremlin next week for further talks.
Yeah, I mean, this is, in any other administration, this would be a huge scandal. Huge scandal. In any other administration, this guy would be out on his keister. He probably would have been out on his keister when he was like schmoozing with Putin and accepting paintings and, doing all the stuff that he's done with them in the past. He might have been out on his keister when it was revealed that the peace plan that we were circulating was actually drafted by the Russians. But certainly with these tapes, and you got to wonder who provided these tapes. Somebody decided that these tapes ought to be out there for everybody to see because they thought it was alarming. Was it somebody on his team? Was it a Russian? Or, and I've seen this speculated as on online, was it some foreign intelligence service? I don't know. But, the main thing here is Witkoff and Trump are doing the Kremlin's bidding. They are taking dictation from the Kremlin. And they are trying to work this from the Kremlin. And they sort of throw in Ukraine as an afterthought or throw in our European allies as an afterthought. As we've said before, if it gets you to peace, fine. But it doesn't seem likely to because it seems one-sided. There's another problem there, though, and that is the United States is trying to be an honest broker, and everybody knows they're not an honest broker. This is something that we've talked about many, many times on Deep State Radio, and we will talk about it later today on this week's episode of Deep State Radio with Rosa Brooks and with Max Boot. And we'll talk about what this loss of trust means, what the U.S. position means, and what the risks are inherent in it. Minna.
Coalition of 19 attorneys general and 2 governors sued the Trump administration to block major policy changes that would cut funding for permanent housing and HUD's Continuum of Care program and impose new conditions, including restrictions related to acknowledging transgender and non-binary individuals. The lawsuit argues the administration's actions are unlawful, unconstitutional, and would endanger tens of thousands of people by shifting funds from permanent housing to transitional programs with work or service requirements. HUD defends the policy as a needed move away from, quote, housing first, but critics warn the changes could put up to 170,000 people at risk of homelessness and worsen the national crisis.
It will. It's cruel. It will cause pain. It will cause suffering. It will cause pain and suffering to the people who are most vulnerable in our society. And that's the intent. Why? Because it makes them look tough, and the people that they are attacking are people that do not have a lot of political capital to use to push back. Rest assured that they are all for big kind of breaks for major real estate developers, to make millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars on deals. They want the government to be bending over backwards for those folks while not providing care for the homeless. I should add that, there's a lot of experience with this around the world, and this may come as a big, screaming shock to everybody. But you know what the best way to deal with homelessness is? Just a show of hands. Just somebody. Just throw out a thought there, Riley.
Provide homes.
Oh, my God. That education at Miami of Ohio has served you so well. And I know for a fact that Miami was a university before it was a city in Florida. Wasn't it, Riley?
That is true. Before Florida was a state, Miami University stood tall and proud.
Tall and proud, and it has led Riley to the kind of insight that he has just given you all, folks. The way you solve homelessness is giving homes to people. And in the richest country, or one of the richest countries in the world, where space is not an issue, we could do this easily if we prioritize doing what worked best, what was best for society, and what was most humane. But that is not the priority of this big-time real estate developers administration. If I may, by the way, throw in a little side comment, go to the Washington Post today. I say this with some trepidation given the ownership of the Post and its decline. And if you're interested in another sort of counter story on this, read the 2 stories in the Washington Post about Trump's 90,000 square foot ballroom, the amount of time he's spending on it, how much it's going to cost, the concerns of the architect that Trump is, doing something that's out of scale with the White House. And just think about the big, gilded, $300 million, 1,000-seat ballroom for billionaires when they're kicking people out of homeless programs who need shelter at the beginning of the winter. Charles Dickens didn't write anything that stark or describe cruelty, meanness of spirit, any more egregious than what we're seeing from these guys right now. Minna.
I have the next story.
Oh, sorry. I'm in other Minna. The other Minna.
The uplifting
This is Riley Erasure.
Sorry. I don't mean to cancel you, Riley.
President Trump publicly expressed support for FBI Director Kash Patel on Tuesday, refuting an MS Now report that alleged he was planning to oust Patel due to frustration over negative headlines. While the news outlet cited sources claiming Trump was considering replacing Patel with Andrew Bailey, the president told reporters that the director is doing a great job. The White House further denied the story, with spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt calling it completely made up and sharing a photo of the 2 men together in the Oval Office to demonstrate their solidarity. These rumors circulate amidst a broader purge at the Justice Department, where more than 200 employees have been fired since the beginning of Trump's second term.
I can tell you, based on conversations I've had with people in that orbit, that Kash Patel is the most hated FBI director of all time, and and widely viewed as the most incompetent. The headlines Riley's talking about here, well, there was the use of an expensive government jet to fly his girlfriend around, or his demand that his girlfriend, who, by the way, is not an employee of the U.S. government or in any way associated with national security or law enforcement, have a SWAT team assigned to her to protect her. And they sent the SWAT team down, and the SWAT team said, "What the heck are we doing here?" And she's not at risk. And they started to leave, and Kash Patel called him in and dressed him down. Dressed him down, according to the stories, for not following orders, not doing what they're supposed to do, which is treat Kash Patel like a king and treat his girlfriend like a queen and use U.S. resources in this way. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. The reason he's despised within the FBI is the fact that he's been purging the place of loyal people who've served it well for political reasons, that he has been shifting the priorities away from fighting crime to fighting Trump's political rivals, that he has undercut the credibility of the institution, that he has sought to Bigfoot events where he thought the FBI could get credit for it, even though they had no role to play or didn't have a prominent role to play or a visible role to play, or he played the role before they should have been going public. You name it, he's made the mistake. And the only thing I would say to Kash Patel is Trump saying he has faith in you in the past is a sure sign you're about to walk the plank. How about Minna this time? Is it this Minna? The other Minna?
Yes, it's this Minna this time.
Okay.
Dr. Ralph Abraham, a former congressman and Louisiana health official who has questioned vaccine safety and restricted vaccine promotion, has been appointed principal duty director of the CDC under Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
That seems really smart. Sorry.
Yeah, end of story. Just wanted to celebrate something before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, sorry to break your flow there. Go on.
His appointment has drawn strong criticism, we don't know why, from former CDC leaders and public health experts who argue that his views on vaccines and his handling of a recent, whooping cough outbreak signal a dangerous shift away from evidence-based public health. Critics warn that placing Abraham in the CDC's second highest role could undermine the agency's credibility and hinder effective responses to future health emergencies. Yeah,
I love that. I love that you guys are so circumspect in the way you write these things. And you go, critics warn that. I mean, the guy is a nut. He is completely wrong on the science. He couldn't be a worse choice for this thing. It's not just critics. It should be everybody. If babies could read newspapers and could see what's happening in this country and see that children are now starting to die because people aren't getting basic vaccines anymore for political reasons, they would move to another country. And what's more, and I'm sorry to tell you this, folks, when big chunks of the population don't get the vaccines, it's not just them who get sick. Diseases spread, epidemics take place, other people end up being infected. We're playing with fire here, and I am telling you, there are already deaths that have been reported associated with these trends away from vaccines in red states. By the end of this administration, this is going to lead to some big outbreaks with big death tolls, much suffering, very high costs, because, these are not vaccine skeptics, okay? These are crackpots promoting garbage. I was almost going to call it garbage science, but it has nothing to do with science. They're crackpots promoting garbage that will lead people to die. That's the extent of it. And if you want to understand the mentality of it, go read any story about RFK Jr. these days, although I dare you to try to find one that isn't about his sex life, which seems to be super big in the news these days, and I could do without. But who knows? Maybe it's going to affect one of the families of one of these people. I did see a story this morning that one of Caroline Leavitt's relatives, the White House press secretary, that woman who lies all the time behind a big giant cross on her chest, Caroline Leavitt, one of her relatives, was picked up by ICE, taken away. Great, huh? So maybe some of these things are going to start being chickens that come home to roost for these folks, and maybe that'll open their eyes. Am I counting on it? Nope. Okay, other minute now.
Well, staying on trend of administration choices that will lead to deaths, the Trump administration has formally moved to roll back stricter soot pollution limits established under President Biden.
It's Thanksgiving tomorrow? Are you aware? Okay,
I know. We didn't really have a thankful story today, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Filing a court motion to invalidate the air quality standards introduced in 2024. In its filing, the EPA argued that the previous administration exceeded its authority and failed to follow the necessary, rigorous, stepwise process when lowering the acceptable soot limit to 9 micrograms per cubic meter. The reversal is part of a broader campaign by EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin to pursue historic deregulation, overturning rules that were previously estimated to prevent up to 4,500 premature deaths annually. Environmental groups, including the Sierra Club and Earth Justice, immediately condemned the action as reckless betrayal of the agency's mission that prioritizes corporate interests over public health.
Yeah, Donald Trump, give America black lung again. I mean, if you were, in fact, hoping for a big lump of coal in your stocking this year, or you wanted to give that gift of coal to a family member that you don't particularly like, this is the administration for you, because they're bringing coal back, and coal will be cheaper, stockings will be easier to fill, thanks to Donald Trump. Now, there wasn't much to be thankful for there. Let me give you something to be thankful for. Donald Trump was really peed off this morning because there's a New York Times story that says Trump is becoming low energy, that he is cutting back his schedule, that he is not keeping up. And by the way, it was pretty compelling. When in the first term, his first public events typically took place at 10 a.m. In this administration, they take place afternoon. The number of events he's been doing has been curtailed dramatically. So he then wrote a very long Truth Social post in which he said, heck no, I'm the best president ever. I got the best polls ever. I've solved every war that has ever taken place in the history, including the Peloponnesian Wars. And the New York Times person who wrote the article is ugly inside and out. Needless to say, it's a woman. And when there is a woman, that's, the worst thing he can say. It was pretty awful, pretty defensive. And he said, someday probably I will slow down, but that day is not now. I went to the doctor. I got a high test. I did well in the cognitive test. Et cetera, et cetera. All the usual lies crammed into a very, very short a longish Truth Social post. But here's what I'm thankful for. It's a lie. I'm thankful for the fact that he is getting older. He is slowing down. His systems are breaking down. You can't shove that many Big Macs into a big puffy orange body for 80 years and not expect it to take a toll. And it's taking a toll. And I'm thankful. I'll leave it at that. If you want other things to be thankful for, we have Deep State Radio later today. You should go and listen to that. And we're doing a Need to Know today with our two friends with whom we periodically get together and talk about the state of the media. And I will demand they talk about what they're happy about in the media other than us. Maybe they're just happy for us, happy for DSR Network, happy in the way you should be when you go and take advantage of the Riley Holiday Special. Riley, you tell us about the Riley Holiday Special. Why don't you?
Yes, we currently have a 50% discount for membership if you use code GiveThanks25
Wow.
on our website.
That is practically, it's almost religious.
Yes.
Give thanks. Next
Give-
year,
give thanks
at Christmas,
25.
At Christmas, our code is going to be hallelujah. But okay, give thanks.
GiveThanks25 at the dsrnetwork.com/buy.
Buy. I love it. 50% off on all this. DSR Daily, the Daily from the New Republic, the Daily Blast, Deep State Radio, Need to Know, Words Matter with Norm Ornstein, Siliconsciousness, AI Energy and Climate, special podcasts when breaking news takes place, events, all sorts of great stuff, the things that are on our podcast, the Need to Know Substack you can go to, all that stuff. Half price. That's something to be thankful for. I'm thankful also for Riley and for Minna and for all of you listening. So we'll be back with you soon. Until then, bye-bye. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.